So we go in to do maintenance on the mortuary, you know. We go in there and we're doing a bunch of the different stuff. And then one of the morticians, he comes to me, he says, "Hey, there's these light bulbs that we need changed in this parlor, right?" Okay, no problem. So I tell him, I'm like, I just need to know where the closet is with the supplies because it's my first time doing the indoor work. I didn't know where they kept everything. And he points to this back room and he says, "Hey, the light bulbs are in this maintenance closet. It's in the back of this room." Okay. So I walk in the room and it's dark. And when I walk in, I hit something with my leg. I bump something and it moves. It's like steel. You can feel it moving. So I quickly reach behind me and I turn on the light and I'm shocked because what I just ran into is a medical table that has a deceased body on it, an old woman. This was a preparation room. No, it wasn't a joke or anything like that. They didn't send me in there to scare me. The maintenance closet really was behind it, but they just didn't tell me that it was in the back of, a preparation room. So I'd walked in there in the dark and I'd run into the table and this body. And, I went in the closet and I grabbed the light bulbs real quick and I left. I was a little bit spooked. It was a little bit nerve wracking and just got out of there as quick as I could and did the job. And all of a sudden, when I'm leaving work that day, I start to feel very fluish and I start to feel very sick and my head just started hurting really, really bad. I can't explain it. I've never had migraines in my life, but the way that people describe migraines, I would think it's probably a migraine, but it really felt like somebody took like the blunt tip or the sharp tip of an axe and was just splitting my head. So I get home and I just can't function. I'm getting sicker and sicker and sicker and actually start throwing up. You know, my temperature starts rising, like I'm gonna go to bed. When I go to bed, I just have these horrific dreams that just um, keep coming through my head, and I just keep seeing these horrific things. I can't even. There's a shadow entity like sitting on my chest, like suffocating me. At one point, the hands come around my neck like they're trying to choke me. I literally at one point, I'm still not sure if I was half asleep or if I actually woke up, but I woke up and I started looking kind of to the right and left of me, like being afraid, waking up from these dreams. And I turned my head to the left and I swear like saw like a shadow figure like put their hand over my face, and then I woke up again, or like woke up for real, and everything was gone. So by this point it's like 5 in the morning. I still feel like crap, but I'm gonna go to work. I don't want to stay in my house and sleep and keep having these nightmares, and I don't know what the fuck's going on. So out of the cemetery crew, most people think what happened was pretty funny. I walked in this room, ran into this table, didn't know there was a body there, scared myself. They think it's pretty funny. But there's one guy who works there. He's been on the ground crew for years and kind of an older guy. He's a little bit superstitious. He didn't really laugh about it, didn't joke about it, didn't say anything about it. He just kind of stayed quiet. And he asked me, "Are you all right?" When we were kind of by ourselves, and I told him kind of what was happening after I left work and about these dreams and stuff. And he tells me, he goes, "You have to be careful disrespecting the dead." And I'm like, "I didn't disrespect the dead. Like, what did I do?" And he goes, "Well, you didn't intentionally." He says, "But when you went in the room, bumped into the lady, and then you just kind of left, just tore off, he says, that's it can be considered disrespectful, you know. He says you have to consider those things. He says, maybe consider apologizing." I said, "Okay." So I took one of the gators up to the cemetery office, to the mortuary, made an excuse that I had to go to the bathroom, which was there in the front hallway on the left side of the parlor where I was actually doing the light bulbs, and the preparation room was in a back hallway behind there. So all the offices are on the opposite side of the building, you know. There wasn't really anybody moving around there. So I go in, I'm like, hey, I got to use the bathroom. You know, the lady at the desk's like, okay, no problem, you know. And I sneak my way back into the hallway. And I feel crazy. And I'm like, man, if somebody finds me back here, they're going to, what are you doing, you know? But I just listening to him and taking his advice and, you know, all this and that. And I sneak back there. I walk in the room, turn the light on, and the woman is still there, you know, sheet covering most of her face is exposed. And I just tell her, I said, ma'am, I'm so sorry for disrespecting you. I'm sorry for running into you. You know, I didn't mean any kind of disrespect or harm. And I'm sorry that I walked out without apologizing. You know, I hope you can take my apology. And I left. And then after that, I started feeling better, you know. Head stopped hurting. Wasn't feeling as sick to my stomach. By the time lunch came around, you know, I was able to eat pretty good. And never had one of those nightmares ever again, you know. The guy, me and him, never really talked about it again, but, you know, he walked by me at one point. We were working out in the cemetery and kind of patted me on the shoulder, you know, walked off. I feel like, you know, he told me something, man. It worked, you know. But the lesson is be careful how you treat the dead. Some things we do, we don't mean to be disrespectful, but they are, you know. And that was a life lesson, and that was a scary experience, you know. It could have been coincidence. Do I know that the dreams and the 24-hour flu and all that stuff was caused by that incident? I don't, but it all coincided, and it scared the hell out of me, so I did what I felt like I needed to do for that relief, and it worked, you know. So, does anybody else watching this have any kind of similar stories, or what do you think? You know, I love likes, subscribes, and comments, and give me a thumbs up. Help us grow this channel so we can do more. And eventually I want to travel to some places that I think you guys would love to see. So of course we can only do that if this channel grows. And if you don't know about me, check out my other channel, Patriots Public Opinion. That channel's already growing and doing pretty well. So, you know, let me know what you think and stay sharp.